I'm Samantha, but it says Blue Diamond on the bottom. I just don't know how to change it. Well, I've been doing property management now for 16 years, and I've found it to be such a great way not only to build a community and a nice team around my real estate, but get a lot of residual income coming in, and it's just been so great that I wanted to kind of share that with other agents, especially since the market shift is probably coming with the interest rates and all of that, but we'll definitely get into that. Brian joined me about 6 years ago. He has 25 years experience in real estate. He did the flipping and he did mainly that. Did never really entered the property management side, but I think that he's really found value in it. Robert is new to the property management world, and he did join us in Blue Diamond. He's starting his own Blue Diamond and had his first client and just rented his first property. So that's pretty exciting. He's handling a lot of, well, he's going to be handling the markets down in Point Loma, right? Point Loma, Mira Mesa, that
Yeah.
little bit south of the 56 area. Hopefully we'll have a few more people join us. It is 10, so I think we should probably just get going. Um, and I think we're going to be recording this. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're not, let me know. All right, good. What we're going to talk about today is just property management and how you can grow your real estate side with it. So a little bit about me. That's me and my daughter. I am a full-time single mom. I have always been an entrepreneur. I started selling golf balls at 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old, and just have always tried to do something to work for myself. But I did go to college. So I do have a bachelor's in science. I wanted to learn about that instead of going into what my family had done, which was real estate. I worked at a lab for a while. I was a QC supervisor, and then I got a job with the Air Pollution Control District of San Diego. I was an air pollution inspector for, I think, 3 years. I felt like as I was working for people, I would work really hard and they would just give me more work, never give me more pay. Then I moved for love and it didn't work out in Wyoming. So when I came back, I didn't really want to go back into that 9 to 5 kind of job. And so I decided, okay, I would go back to being an entrepreneur. So I started my own cleaning company. And then I reached out to property management firms, including my father's property management firm, asking if I could clean their rentals. And as I did that, I went into my father's company and realized that he didn't really utilize the computer system technology, things like that. So I started helping him with that, and it just turned into working for him. His company wasn't making a lot of money. They weren't managing a lot of homes. They probably had 30 properties to manage. So I got my real estate license. I built up his business. And again, my paycheck stayed the same. And I built up to probably, I think, 100 properties for him to manage and helped him. I became a certified community association manager. I did HOA management. It was not my cup of tea. It's so impersonal. You don't build relationships, and I really like community and relationships, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. Then I got pregnant, and again, that love did not work out, unfortunately. But I had to do something, right? I'm a full time single mom and I needed to make more money. So I just did it. I had $10,000 in the bank. I had $10,000 of credit and I quit my job because I wasn't allowed to bring my daughter to work with me and I wasn't going to have somebody else raise her. So I did that. And with a little bit of a stroke of luck, my first client, um, I got actually my last day of work at my other job. They didn't want to interview him, so I did. And when he left, he said, "I'm not looking for a company. I'm looking for a manager, and I'd like you to manage for me." Ended up buying 29 homes throughout a 3-year period, and each one that he bought, I would rehab and rent out, and I really got my hands dirty with that. Learned a ton of stuff, and it was wonderful. I'm also a soccer coach. This is my 20th year as a volunteer soccer coach, and I've also been a board of director for HOAs, for my HOA. So that's a little bit about my background and where I guess as far as inspiration, obviously parents are inspiring, but there's business leaders that are very inspiring. I mean, we've got Warren Buffett. I know some of you heard Brian say I had another person on there, but who was Gene Simmons actually. But there's a lot of people who are not sure about Gene Simmons, but he's quite a good businessman. But Warren Buffett, price is what you pay, value is what you get. Elon Musk, Samuel Walton. There's no substitute for hard work, and that's true in this business. It is hard work, but the front end loaded work that you do, if you do it really well, it's residual and that work is done and you go for a year and you're collecting your property management fees and it should be a smooth sailing. There's always things that happen, but for the most part, it's uh, it's front end loaded. So, if you were to start your own business, my suggestion is to write a list of who inspires you. Why do they inspire you? What are your strengths and what can you do? And then you build off of that. And what do you enjoy? I mean, life is about balance. It's not about just working, working, working. And you've got to have some balance there. Property management is so beautiful that it's not 9 to 5. You can wake up at 6 in the morning, work until 8, have some breakfast, go back, work. You work throughout the day, so life continues on, and I find it so great that I'm able to stop at 3, go coach my daughter, come back and check and make sure things are done. You definitely have to finish your work for the day, but because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So really, you obviously need to have a real estate. Does anyone have a question? Okay. You have to have a real estate license, and you should be a broker if you have your own company. But you can also work with a broker until you have your broker's license. If you have someone that you can work with, or even partner with. So there's contracts and laws, and then there's preparation and plans. You have to be flexible, friendly and fair, obviously. Patient, but you have to be quick thinking. And then, of course, you have to have an amazing team behind you, which would be all of those vendors that you're going to work with that are going to come and help you when there's a problem with your property. And I found that to be probably one of the most rewarding parts is developing relationships with plumbers and roofers and they will, if you have a good relationship with them, they will come and take care of you when you need them to. Everybody likes to joke. Sam has a guy for that. So, and I do. I have a lot of vendors that I've created over time. So this chart right here, I guess you can't really read it very well, so I put it a little bigger. Hopefully you can. But I just created this. This is one part of my course, which is who's responsible for what. And so this kind of outlines it. Light bulb replacement, the tenant should do that. Clearing drains, the tenant should do that. you know, replacing a garbage disposal? No, the homeowner. So that's just a little example. I wouldn't really worry about that at this time. So the current market, you can see this is back from 1965, but it was a nice even, well, just a steady incline, right? And then we had this big, when they did zero down home loans, and then it went up again. And then this happened here, which is the interest rate drop, right? And then COVID. It was kind of counterintuitive to me that we were in a pandemic, but everything was going up and everybody was buying homes and new cars and all of that. But it's definitely starting to drop, and I think all of us in real estate can see that the market is on a decline. So I also found that it's turned out that investment companies have bought a quarter of all single family homes in the United States, according to Pew. So corporations own 17 million homes in the US, single family homes. So here's what I think about that. It's corporations that are owning homes. Yeah, they think they're cash cows. They think that they're just going to make a ton of money off of rentals. But where they're going to fail is they're not going to maintain them properly. So, you know, they just won't. They're going to probably have somebody in-house managing them, and this is where we can come in and say, maybe find a few of these LLCs that own some homes in our areas and say, hey, you need a professional to do this, because if not, your investment's going to go down in value. So why do they need us? Screening tenants, understanding credit reports, collecting rent on time, and then maintenance. That's the starred one. Is that, and in this business, there's some landlords who they don't want to spend the good money maintaining things properly, but in the end, it's going to cost them the same amount, if not more. And then what they do is they won't end up getting the market value. Nobody's going to rent it if you won't put in new flooring, or you've got to you won't upgrade the paint, things like that. And then, of course, they have to comply with all the laws. There's a ton of new laws, there's a ton of new addendums, and they're constantly changing. But if that's why I'd like to kind of create a community-based group where we all are working together and keeping up with everything that's going on. So here's just an example of, this is termite kickout, and this is a significant amount of termite kickout. I know it's a zoomed in, but you can't really see it. They're tiny little dust particles. And this is siding right here. So they don't eat the siding. But if you peel off, like this is the corner by this siding, these termites have completely eaten it. I peeled off the painted portion because they don't like paint. But I mean, they can completely destroy the inside. They're everywhere, but you have to maintain things like that, or they'll just go through and you won't even know it until the door falls off. This is something that not a lot of people have ever seen, but it's a subterranean termite mud tube, and they're very common bugs now, and they don't get eradicated from fumigation. Somebody So that's a subterranean mud tube. You're just going to see them at the base of the house. But if you see those, I would do something about it. And it's a different treatment system, but those can be pretty nasty too. This is another I'm just kind of going through a few things that people really don't pay attention to. This is a wax ring of a toilet. This can be the biggest problem. If you've got a rocking toilet at all, that's the sign that the wax ring is feeling. If you smell any odors, that's that. And then they'll just leak a little bit at the base, but if something goes wrong, that will flood an entire house. And that's a simple, easy fix. You pull a plumber does it, but It's not expensive, and it's important. Here's an example of a bad repair. So the mold grew through, but you can see where the arrow is pointing. It was a poor patch on the outside. And we in it, I tell my vendors, you fix it right. You fix it right the first time, give me an accurate bid. I've gone through vendors in 16 years for sure, but you've got to make sure that the job is done right. And now this is the final thing. This was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. It started with one little droplet coming out of this wall, and we couldn't figure it out. We tarped the top of the roof. We did all sorts of water tests. We could not figure out what was going on until we opened up the wall. And this is what we found. So this is a wood-eating fungus. It's rare to find in a house, but if it does get in, it just eats. There was nothing left. So had we just ignored it, if there was a tiny earthquake, if there was anything, that whole house would have probably collapsed on that whole side. So you know, if you can't figure it out, there still is something wrong. And so you just can't give up in this. It was fixed. It was expensive, but the insurance did cover it. We fought hard, and they did. And it was about $165,000 repair. All right. So going above and beyond. That's the other beautiful thing about property management. There's a lot of property managers that do not go above and beyond. They're getting better, but when I first started, people were extremely happy, and people love to talk about good things. Not, I mean, especially in this, because they weren't used to it. So our Yelp reviews have been great. We get them from clients, we get them from tenants. We do, if somebody says, "Oh my gosh, this was great," we don't be afraid to ever ask somebody, "Hey, can you put that on Yelp?" People are very happy to do that. I don't go soliciting it, but if they rave about us, then do that. And if you want to go to our Yelp page, you can read some of those. So, how do you start, right? You have to have a business plan. You have to have a I would say 6 to 10 week plan. The good thing about this business, you can work from home. You don't need an office because every property you go to, that's your office. Checklists are great. You've got to know, you've got to have something to check off because you're going to forget about things. But if you have a compiled checklist, that's going to help. And then 24/7 availability. You've got to be available. If you answer your phone, that's really all you need to do at first, and then you take care of what's going on. But if you don't answer your phone, that'll be that one emergency that you should have answered your phone. So that's the only other thing is you are tied to your phone and being available. But that's the other reason for having a community. If somebody's got their own business, they want to go on vacation, you can reach out and say, "Hey, I'm going to go for 2 weeks. Can somebody handle some of my work orders?" Especially if we're all doing the same thing. So that's what I've said to Robert. If he goes away, we can handle his work orders. So forecast for success. These are rough numbers because everything is based on a percentage of the rent. But if you had 12 properties, your gross annual revenue would be 29,000. But once you get to like 40 properties, it's about 96,000. When I worked for the property management company, I never made more than 56,000, I think was my annual salary. So and if you get to 100, I mean, you're looking at about $240,000 a year. So here's my financials. I started in 2012, but by 2015, I was making $118,000 a year. I don't know how many properties I was managing. These are just for my taxes. And then in 2016, when we added real estate sales, we made 180,000 in management, and then real estate sales was 10,000. And last year we made $158,000 in real estate sales, and those were basic. Most of them were our clients that wanted to sell, and of course they're going to use us because we know the homes. So that's what I'm saying about kind of really definitely build your client list. And at this stage, I don't really want to take on anymore because life is important to me. My daughter's important to me. So this is why I've decided to transition to trying to help other people create their own businesses. Um, and maintain mine obviously, but I don't really. I think we're maxed out pretty well at this stage, but we're making $434,000 a year. So this is just a little example of the training, the course that I've created. I don't know how easy it is to read all of this, but there's a section for orientation, and there's a section about clients, a section about software, insurance and vendors. There's a whole marketing section, office preparation, streamlining and checklists, everything you need to know about tenants, your risk assessment, and then a final review. So this would be if you wanted to start your own, you would get access to this course, and it's just online. So at any you go through it at your pace. I don't want I some people want to go fast. Some people just want to build up. Uh, okay, pitfalls to starting your own company. So if you don't have a clear plan, I think a business plan is super important. Underestimating costs and wasting money. So, I've tried a few different software systems. And then I ended up finding a company who would work with me, and I would tell them, can you make the software do this? Can you make it do that? And they did. And for 5 years, we worked together and built this. It was theirs, not mine, but it really works well. And then effective marketing and adaptability. You've got to be able to shift with the market. And another reason to have a lot of heads together to kind of all come up with a plan that works for all of us to keep building. So in the end, I'm just looking for people who to expand our team and community and grow together, continue to thrive. But we need motivated, self-driven, and ethical people, and just try to build a strong team of individuals with your own business. I think this is a job. If you work hard, you should reap the rewards. I think in general you should anyway. Oh, and then what's the value of an executable plan for a business? I'm not really I'm not really looking to make a ton of money off of this. There's certainly a value that's been set on it, but I think we're all individuals, and if I think it's a case by case system where if you're interested, let's talk. Let's figure out how long it would take you, and where you're at in the process, and then we can go from there. It will be less than you would expect, though, because to start a business, it probably ended up costing me. I don't know. I don't even want to put a number on it, but the courses and everything, I don't know, but it'll be significantly less than you would think. And there we go. That's it for me. So let me unmute everybody, and if you have any questions, I don't, let me see. Okay, you guys can all turn on your microphones. Oh, can you? Okay, good. And you can ask any one of us. We've got Robert here and Brian here too.
What would you say was the most challenging part of starting?
Um, Probably not giving up on myself. Probably just, just staying the course and just working on not worrying about the money or whether or not it was going to come. I just would focus on the clients that I had. Um, but there was certainly trepidation. I had started a few companies in my life and failed, but this time was a little different because I did create a business plan.
Mhm.
So there's that. Yeah.
I just did that. I just started, and I used Samantha's plan. And, I would say that, I mean, she talked about the online software, which is great, the online learning, but she has been tremendously available, always wants to help, very interested in, in the community thing. I'm just trying to think when you asked that question. I don't know what was the hardest. I mean, I had to get my real estate license. That was a bear, but got it done, and now I've gone through my first customer. I got the client, which ended up coming through somebody I knew who was an interior designer and knew I was doing this and suggested me, just because she knew who I was and that I have a helpful personality, if you will. And so you get I think it's sort of in three sections, and Sam can correct me if she wants to add something. But I mean, for me, it was like getting the initial client, getting the management agreement done, and doing everything, with in the real estate way, which is fiduciary, right? You have to do everything with the client in mind and putting them ahead of you, which was very interesting. I came from the medical industry, and there's always a patient involved, so for me, it was sort of a normal progression. So I got the client, and the second part was sort of getting the property ready to rent and understanding it completely, so I could show it like an expert.
Mhm.
Pretty easy. And then the last part was using the tools that Sam helped me with to get people to come and see the property and choosing a tenant and doing it all within the legal guidelines of a real estate agent, and rented it, signed the 48-page California lease agreement, and got going. And I would say it was a great learning experience, and none of it was biting my nails, staying up at night all night long. It
Mhm.
was, especially those of you who have been doing real estate already, it should be a no-brainer. It's a natural progression. And what I
Mhm.
like about it is that you saw Sam didn't have real estate in the beginning, real estate sales in the beginning. But you're managing somebody's first or second biggest asset in their life. I mean, if they own their own home that they live in, then their investment property is the second biggest thing they own in their life. And they're trusting that to you. And if you do a good job and you treat it like your own, they're going to trust you. And who are they going to turn to, right? And not only who are they going to turn to, but who is the tenant going to turn to if you've done a good job getting the tenant and servicing them when they have a leaky faucet and you send the plumber out or whatever. So I think it's a natural progression into the real estate sales side of it too. I haven't had that happen yet because again,
Mhm.
I just am starting, but I can see that happening. My first tenant has already invited me to dinner, and they love me, and I can just see this all morphing into just a gathering of business.
And
Mhm.
let me jump in because I do the hardest thing was to gather my vendors and
Mhm.
find really reputable people. So that was the other thing that I put in the training with Robert was get call people, start making relationships. If a plumber doesn't answer his phone or call you back, that's not the plumber for you.
Mhm.
I always look for smaller firms, one man shows because they are they're the ones who are going to be hungry for the work. And a lot of my vendors have turned around and they'll be painting a house and they'll hear the person say, oh, well, we need to get a property manager, and they're the ones who are passing the business along to me now too. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. The vendors are hard to find, but
Mhm.
once you find them, you treat them really good, and they're going to stay. So that takes some effort too.
Yeah, but the forms and the things that you gave me to check on, right? There was like checkpoints. This is what you asked the vendor for. This is what you asked them. If they
Mhm.
will, they call the client, themselves, and so forth. Will they use a lockbox? The various things. It I found it easier. You know. Having that stuff listed out is really helpful.
Good.
Yeah. Um, Hi. First of all, I'm Lulia. It's my husband account.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you for all of this nice presentation. Actually, what I want to ask about is what do you suggest about? I'm very new in the US. I'm here since July only. My English is good, but not the perfect one, and I don't know where to start exactly. What do you suggest? Like to start trainings or start training with someone or making the license? I'm still lost because I don't have contacts here. I don't have even very many friends. I have some, but that not that many contacts. So I don't know what do you suggest to start? Like having the license first, or having the training first, or
yeah, I would. I mean, you should definitely do the classes for real estate and take the option of the property management class if that's what you're interested in. And then, uh, I mean, Robert's found that it took him, I think, 6 or 7 months to finally get your real estate license. So there's that. And you really can't do anything without a license because you really can't negotiate rents or anything like that. So I would definitely get your license first, and I would take as many, courses. There's a ton of things online too. And then once you get your real estate course, if that license, if you wanted, I'm always here just to help. I can't give all of my information, obviously, but yeah, I mean, you can always reach out and ask me if this course is good, or and then start, just start getting out there. There's meetups. There are what are they? Networking groups that you can go to too. A lot, and just try to find one of those. Get in there, and if there's not a property manager in there, that's a great tool. I didn't get a lot of business from that, but I definitely made contacts and got a lot of vendors from that, which was
yeah,
nice. Yeah, just get out there. Courses, I think the online courses doesn't give you that community feeling. I mean, maybe a little bit, but going to an actual class and sitting with people and finding like-minded people. If I could have had a partner with this business, that would have been awesome in the beginning. So, but bouncing heads together and really trying to work together, I think that a partnership is not a bad thing in this business either. Just for two people, but I wouldn't put any more in there.
okay. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
thank you, and thank you, Brian. Also,
Thank you. I thought that was you. I rented their house.
Oh, cool.
How's Amro?
yeah, it's good.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to help you out any way I can. So you can always call me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and the
Thank you.
7 months of a real estate license, 4 of it was bureaucracy, waiting for California to let me take the test, waiting for them to pass the test, and then it took them 2 months to give me my license. So a
Yeah.
lot of it is, I think I did it concurrently, right? I started the real estate license, and then also started the program with Sam, and started learning that in bits and pieces, and then I'd get busy with real estate again, and I did that for a month solid, and then I had time waiting for this California again. So it's not 7 months solid. It's like, probably three and a
Right.
half months of work, and then time waiting, and that time can be used understanding and learning about property
Yeah.
management and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Well, you guys can always reach out to me for more information or just for any additional questions that you might have later on. I have a wealth of knowledge, and it's just I didn't want to take a lot of people's time gabbing too much. So Yeah.
I do have one question. How do you figure out like your percentage?
Well, everything's negotiable, but I do 8% of their rent as their fee. So when I first started, that's what I did what's called a competitive market analysis. So you call other companies and ask what they charge. And so 8% seemed right. I don't have any additional fees. Some companies will charge like a leasing fee is what they call it, but it's just half the rent up front and then they do 6%. So this fee structure can be changed. And then when the gas prices started going up, I started charging $500 startup fee with the 8% and nobody batted an eye. So that has been helpful because there is a lot of upfront stuff that you do before you collect any rent because you're prepping the house, showing the house, and you're not getting paid anything at that time. So the 500 kind of was helpful and has made a little bit of a difference. But yeah, I mean, you can charge whatever you want. You could charge 7% to try to get a competitive edge. Although people who go for discount always want more and they don't appreciate you. So in the beginning, you can negotiate anything. But as you get more experienced in this, I would not, because those are the trouble animals.
Some people are charging 10%. I had a friend who lives in Orange County, and she has a house in Penasquitos. And she called me knowing I'm doing this now and asked me to look at her agreement. And her management agreement was like an extra 7 pages beyond what the standard California Association of Realtors agreement is. And I said, listen, anytime somebody puts extra pages in the contract, if they're writing the contract, it's in their favor. And we went and looked at it, and they were nickel and diming her. If they went out to the house to meet a plumber, $149, this, that. The thing is, though, that this is very front end loaded, right? So the work that I've just done with my first client, the 3 areas, the initial client and then getting the house ready and then finding the tenant, once they're in, I mean, I might go out to that property once a year, and so it's very front end loaded, and then it's just residual. So you're not working hard with that first client every single day, like you are in the very beginning.
That's a good point, Robert, because I got a lot of clients because their management companies were nickeling and diming them and then not answering their phone. So I don't believe in that. I believe this is kind of a budget, and that's how I sell myself too, is I'm not going to nickel and dime you. You need to know what income you're going to be making. So yeah, I can't imagine the accounting headache of nickeling and diming people too. It's but if you stick to your number and communicate, they're happy with you. I only signed one year management agreement with my clients, and I have clients from the last 10 years, but we never update the management agreement because if they don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with them, but they don't leave because we do a good job. Yeah. But don't take on any client. Always remember, some of those clients that you meet, if you get a bad feeling about them, if they don't want to take care of the house or say, well, the tenant should be responsible for that, just be wary of those ones. Those are going to give you the big headaches. You want the ones who understand this is an investment and they need to maintain it, and you're going to do that for them. Hold firm on your own abilities. Well, wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And just let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert and Brian.
Okay.
Bye, Julia.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.